Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio, and I know you read the title and thought, oh my god, this is a controversial opinion. But in my opinion, the title being a controversial opinion would have been controversial like 5 years ago. To me, it's no longer controversial to say that Netflix shows are no longer relevant. And if you're one of those holdouts that still believes that Netflix shows are completely relevant, by the end of this video, you might start to agree with me even just a little bit. And I wrote down 5 points to back up my argument for why Netflix shows aren't relevant anymore. So to get to the first point, my first point, which is one of the biggest ones, is that cancellations are far too common. And this comes after Inside Job just got canceled after its first season. Blockbuster got canceled after its first season. Glow got canceled a couple years ago, and that show was going into its 4th and final season after season 4 had already been greenlit. With something like Inside Job, season 2 had already been greenlit, but then was later canceled. Bone was canceled, even though that show was in development for like 2-3 years at this point. I don't remember when they got the rights to make the Bone series, but yeah, they just canceled Bone without even developing that. Jupiter's Legacy got canceled only after the first season. So now you look at all of these shows that are just getting canceled left, right, up, down, and center because, Netflix in their infinite wisdom have decided, hey, we're just going to leave all of our decisions on what to greenlight, what to cancel, and what to cancel, and what to give future seasons. We're going to leave that decision all up to an algorithm because we don't want to have to make those decisions for ourselves. And I want to read to you the final paragraph of this Game Rant article because I think they bring up an excellent point, and that is Inside Job, Why Netflix's Latest Cancellation is Especially Mean-Spirited, published on January 9th of 2023. Again, I'm not going to read the whole article. We're just going to read this final paragraph here. Inside Job is yet another painful lesson in Netflix's ongoing campaign of bad PR. Fans of 1899, I did forget about 1899, I apologize. Fans of 1899 recently learned that getting invested in any mystery series on the platform will only result in profound disappointment. Now, they'll learn that not even being picked up for a second season will save their favorite show. Netflix subscribers are getting the message. Nothing is safe, no original series is guaranteed the space to tell its story, and investing emotional stakes in anything that isn't already finished is a gamble. If Netflix users stop binging shows the instant they come out because they're sick of all their favorite stories ending on unresolved cliffhangers, the system will only respond by canceling more shows. This vicious cycle only has one outcome: the slow or sudden death of almost every new piece of art picked up by Netflix. What happened to Inside Job is nothing less than tragedy. There's an outside chance that it gets picked up elsewhere, but the fast-paced world of streaming entertainment leaves no room for moderately popular, well-received media. Can Netflix kill itself one butchered series at a time? The only way to find out is to keep watching. And yes, Netflix has now entered themselves into that. They're calling it a vicious cycle. I call it a death spiral, right? You can only prematurely cancel so many shows before people just throw their hands up and go, fuck this, and walk away forever. And then now you're saying, oh, but if you do that, then you're just going to contribute to more shows getting canceled. Therefore, you're part of the problem. No, how about actually, why doesn't Netflix actually want to fucking commit to any of these shows like like networks in the past? And, the chances of them having another show like BoJack Horseman or House of Cards or Orange is the New Black or the Marvel shows are now so beyond rare that you might as well not even look forward to it. And I would argue that shows like BoJack Horseman, Orange is the New Black, and House of Cards only had full runs because Netflix was a relatively new network at that time. They couldn't afford to just keep canceling all of these, original shows that they would greenlight left and right, unless if genuinely nobody watched them. But still, if they didn't give these shows the full run, Netflix would have never been taken seriously. It would have never been taken seriously as a network. But now, because these cancellations are so flippin' common, Netflix is now becoming more and more the butt of the joke. And I wouldn't be surprised if showrunners and directors just said, well, fuck Netflix, I'm not going to take a deal with them because the odds of the show getting canceled after the first season are so sky fucking high, it's not even worth it. And even getting greenlit for a second season, a second, third, fourth, fifth season doesn't even guarantee anything anymore because they're just going to cancel it whenever the hell they want to. The second point I want to bring up is something I call all filler and no substance. And I think a good number of these Netflix shows really fall into that category, right? And I'm going to use Jupiter's Legacy as a prime example. It was 8 episodes. Each episode was damn near an hour long. You binge it from episode 1 to episode 8. And you realize, other than a decent origin story, there really was nothing special to Jupiter's Legacy. And honestly, that origin story could have been told over like a 3-episode miniseries, but no. Jupiter's Legacy was an 8-episode show that had absolutely no resolution, right? If you read the comics for Jupiter's Legacy, the end of the first part, because they split Jupiter's Legacy into 3 sections. The end of that first run, Brainwave kills the Utopian. It's basically the story of Julius Caesar. But if you only watch the show, you would not have got that. They saved all of that for a second season, whereas they should have ended that with the first season. But no, you watch all these episodes back to back to back to back, and then you realize, well, there's nothing really that profound. Which leads into my third talking point, because I think the two kind of go hand in hand, is that these seasons are simply too fucking short. And Blockbuster's another prime example. You're gonna give a sitcom only 10 episodes to make it or break it. Well, of course everyone's gonna say, yeah, Blockbuster was really underwhelming. Yeah, because it only had 10 episodes. I remember when Superstore released on NBC, and they only gave Superstore 11 episodes for the first season. People, like, the critics were even coming out and saying something to the effect of, yeah, there's something there, but it needs to be developed more. Because these seasons are so short, they only want to greenlight 8 to 10 episodes. Basically what's happening is that they're not allowing any of these shows to develop. They just have to hit the ground running. They have to be instantaneously popular, just like Stranger Things was. It's like, well, because it worked for Stranger Things and Game of Thrones, that means it's gonna work for absolutely everything. You and I both know that's bullshit, but still, would Blockbuster have been a better show if Netflix actually greenlit a full 22-episode season? Maybe, but it's something we'll never know because they just canceled the show instead of allowing the show to develop. They canceled 1899 despite that ending on a cliffhanger. They canceled Away despite it ending on a cliffhanger. But you get my point. You're only giving these showrunners 8 to 10 episodes maximum to develop the show, and then once people come out and they realize, once people walk out, then it's like, it was okay, but there really nothing happened. Again, going back to all filler and no substance, and then the shows get canceled anyway. People now question, well, why am I going to bother getting invested in any of these shows? Which brings me to my fourth talking point, is that, are they making TV shows or are they making extended movies at this point? Cobra Kai is the prime example. You can watch episodes 1 through 10 of any season. It feels like you're just watching like a 5 or 6 hour movie. None of the episodes stand on their own. Netflix's Blockbuster series was kind of the exception in that regard, because even though it had some continuous storylines, it was still highly episodic to a degree. I never watched Inside Job, so I'm not going to speak on that. But still, how often do you watch a Netflix show and it's like all they want to do is make like an 8 to 10 hour movie? They don't want to actually make a TV show. And this is why there will never be a streaming equivalent of a show like Family Guy or The Simpsons or I would even argue Superstore. Blockbuster was their one chance to have their own version of Superstore, and they just decided, well, we're going to cancel it after 10 episodes because it didn't take off like Stranger Things did. But still, they want to make all of these shows into basically just extended movies. So again, why even bother getting invested in the show at that point when not even the showrunners even want to make a show to begin with? They would have honestly been better off just going and making a series of movies or a series of miniseries that were only 3 or 4 episodes long. And the fifth and final talking point is that streaming was in a bubble for a very, very long time, and COVID only exacerbated it. Right, with everybody stuck at home and nothing to do, everybody just binge watched all of these Netflix shows, and they thought, we can keep this going on forever and ever and ever. But as time went on, the problems with the format were starting to reveal themselves. And I touched on this subject, I think maybe a year ago. I think the video is titled. The video is titled something to the effect of is binge watching culture killing streaming shows. Something like that. If I remember to put a card of it on the YouTube channel, I'll put a card directly to that video. But I remember saying something to the effect of, at the time, that it doesn't matter if you release these Netflix shows all at once or weekly. If the problem is with the format, because again, they want to make extended movies and not TV shows, you could release an episode of Cobra Kai once a week. Everyone will talk about it for 10 weeks, but guess what? They're still going to move on. So all you're doing is delaying that inevitable, because the reason why people are saying that streaming services should release all of their shows weekly is that way people on social media can talk about it, because, well, if you drop it all at once, people are just going to talk about it for a week and move on. You're not going to cultivate a fan base, blah 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 blah. But still, if the problems with these shows are coming down to their format, it doesn't matter if you release them all at once or weekly. It doesn't fix the format. You can put lipstick on a pig, but at the end of the day, it's still a pig. And that's why, in my opinion, these Netflix shows are no longer relevant. You add in the fact that these shows are getting canceled left and right, like willy-nilly. A computer is basically making the decision. And then when you actually sit down to watch these shows, it's basically all filler and no substance. You're not even getting a full season. You're getting 8 to 10 episodes at the most, or they're splitting the seasons like what they did with Masters of the Universe Revelation. And, they decided to kill off He-Man in the very first episode, but we're only going to release the first 5 episodes. You have to wait 4 months for part 2, but He-Man is dead. What the hell are they going to do with this series at this point? You just have to wait 4 months. How'd that work out for them, killing off He-Man in the first episode and telling the fans, you got to wait 4 months to see how this ends. Right, notice how the streaming numbers for the second part of Masters of the Universe Revelations were not reported like the streaming numbers for part 1 were. But anyway, getting back to it, right? The seasons are too short. These shows are basically just extended movies, and streaming was always in a bubble. I want to end this video off with one more paragraph from a different article, and this was after First Kill had gotten canceled. This was published back in August 11th of 2022. The article, First Kill, Could Netflix's Cancellation Strategy Cancel the Company? Again, I'm not going to read the entire article. We're just going to cover the last paragraph because I think that this is a good point. Netflix is bleeding subscribers fast, and it's hard to know how much time they have left. The stock is tanking, the big names are moving on, and the fans are fewer and farther between. The sins of the streaming service are too numerous to count, but ramping up costs and cracking down on password sharing isn't the only thing that fans are furious about. When a streaming service cancels something that only they could provide, it provokes a very emotional response. Netflix has to be careful about what it greenlights, what it passes on, and what it allows to die before its time, because every show they cancel is someone's favorite. No one is going to keep paying the company that cancels their favorite show. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and truly end it right here. I think that's a great spot to end it on. Let me know down in the comments if you do agree with me that either that Netflix shows are just no longer relevant, or hell, are you even bothering to get invested in any of these Netflix shows at this point, knowing all of the problems that are going to potentially come with it? Because as I said earlier, just because a show gets a second, third, fourth, or fifth season does not mean that the show is in excuse me, does not mean that the show is in good standing at the company. Ask what happened to Inside Job. Inside Job was greenlit for a second season, got canceled. Glow got greenlit for its fourth and final season, and just abruptly got canceled. So again, guys, let me know if you're even bothering getting invested in these Netflix shows anymore. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and truly end this right here, because I think we went longer than we probably needed to go, if we're being fair. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following long enough, you know I'm terrible at ending these videos, so I will just see you guys next time.